Good morning, everybody. It's Cory chatting with my 5-minute wealth tip today. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about and go a little more in depth about our sound fiscal house process. Before I do so, a lot of people ask me, like, what am I doing in the morning when I'm talking to you guys? Well, I'm typically walking hills in the morning. I don't know if you guys can see this. So I kind of go up and down these different hills in my neighborhood, and it's my way of kind of working out and getting healthy for myself, and hopefully that motivates you to get up in the morning and do the same thing. I'm up every morning at 5 o'clock hitting the hills and trying to work up and down these hills. So when you hear me out of breath, that's why typically is because I'm trying to work on some health here. But anyway, let me dive into this. So first and foremost, what I wanted to discuss today was our sound fiscal house process. Now, if you're a client of EFC, you guys understand we talk about the roof, the walls, the foundation, and the fence, and of course, safety and emergency accounts. Today, what I'm gonna do is talk about the roof and expectations, right? So everybody understands, depending on what type of account you have and what type of area of your sound fiscal house we're discussing, it's really gonna determine what your actual outcome is gonna be, but more importantly, what is the perspective of what kind of returns you should be expecting in those areas. So let's start off with the roof. So for many of you guys know, the roof is where we basically keep the majority of our risk at. Now, when I say risk, what I'm talking about is how much money is invested into the stock market, so that may have actual ups and downs or fluctuations in your account. Now, give me a second, I'm going up a bigger hill this time. Hold on. So, the stock market, basically for all intents and purposes, is going to move up and down on a constant basis. But what we're doing is we're taking a portion of our money to put into the stock market so that we can possibly get a greater rate of return, right? Risk reward. We're in this type of bucket for that exact reason, to demonstrate a potential of getting a greater return over time. Now, why is this important? Well, many of us who are planning for retirement, you will need some sort of risk in your bucket, largely because you want to hyper accelerate your potential return on your investment. Doesn't mean that it has to be a large amount. Doesn't mean everybody's amount is going to be the same. None of that. But what it does mean is that somewhere down the line, you are basically taking the opportunity to try to get a higher rate of return, which is why you're investing in the stock market in the first place. So the roof is designed to be our risk factor, but more importantly, it's designed where we're trying to get better yield, right? Better rates of return, better than what you would get in a basic savings or checking account. And we understand this, that at the end of the day, we know we're going to possibly get a higher rate of return if the markets prevail and give us that opportunity to do so. But what you need to understand is that this is where we're looking for the higher yield, right? It's not your foundation, it's not the walls, it's the risk bucket, which is considered the roof. We are taking risks so that way we can get a higher yield over time and hopefully give us the prevailing rates that we're looking at. Now, when we sit down for the very first time, we sit down and we talk about your actual buckets and we start to create that roof as part of the plan. Now, what determines how much money you should have in that roof is really going to be a couple of factors. The first factor is, one, how well have you saved to cover your living expenses, right? Your day-to-day living expenses. If you've done a great job of savings, you have a pension plan coming in, Social Security, things of that nature, all those factors are going to help us with determining how much money you really should have at risk, because there's no need to take a lot of risk if you're meeting your goals, right? The only time we really need to take more risk is when, for whatever reason, we haven't hit our threshold. We don't have enough cash flow coming in to cover our expenses. That's when we basically will take more risk and go into the roof area and hopefully try to get a higher rate of return from it. So if you've done a great job of savings, then we'll have less money into the markets because we don't need to take as much risk. And at the same time, we don't have to worry about as much fluctuation. So that's really what's going to drive that. The second thing that's going to drive it is, of course, your personal preference as far as the rate of return you're looking for, the goals you're trying to get to. And that has a lot to do with it as well. And then, of course, your age. Depending on your age limit, we use the rule of 100 that says, if you had 100, what would a prudent person do at a certain age limit? It gives us a baseline of saying that, let's assume I'm 60 years of age. I use the rule of 100. I'm basically going to say 100 minus 60. That tells me I have 40%. So 40% would be typically the amount of money that I would have invested in the stock market for a prudent person at the age of 60. That number would change, of course, based off of your age. And then, of course, that's just a baseline. So each person may have a different factor, a risk tolerance when it comes to their investment choices. You may decide to have more than 40%, that's going to be 40% into the market because you just want to take a little bit more risk and you feel that you can. So we will do a variance of anywhere between 10 to 15% one way or the other, either less or plus, those variances. So that's how we come up with the concept of the roof and how much money should go into the roof. Now, keep in mind, again, this is the account that should fluctuate quite a bit, or should fluctuate the most inside of your investments. The rest of the investments, what we do, typically won't fluctuate because they're designed to protect the principal. So keep in mind, when you're looking at your risk and when you're looking at numbers, the focus here is the roof is where we should see that fluctuation and then some. Okay, guys, that's my explanation of the roof in the Sound Fiscal House. Stay tuned for the next couple of talks about the different other parts of the house. All right, this is Cory Chapman. Be well and blessed. A little long in this 5-minute wealth tip today, but second wind walking up these hills. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.